Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig Duluth, coming to you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Piwowarski, coming to you live from the East Coast. It's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most here on the Rundown. 2A Views, conservative news. Craig, guess what day it is?
Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Who's ready?
Throw Punch Thursday, bitch.
Mike, I got to tell you, I'm feeling like it's Throw Punch Thursday. I am here at the California School Boards Association conference here all week in Anaheim, California, the home of the happiest place on earth, otherwise known as Disneyland. Although it might actually be at this point Disney World because, it is in the state of Florida. That's really about all it really has going for it. But all that having been said, dealing with technical issues and all that fun stuff, it's a miracle we got up today, to be honest.
I say that every morning, Craig. I say that every morning.
Yeah, at a certain age, it's kind of like, okay, when you wake up in the morning, you're like, okay, what isn't broken? What isn't hurting?
Yeah, last night, 2 nights ago, I hurt my neck sleeping.
Yeah, well, I went to bed one night and woke up with a torn rotator cuff.
Listen, I got a friend who's a couple years younger, and he said now that he's in his 40s, he's things are starting to hurt that never hurt him before. Mm-hmm. I said, hey, you get to your 50s, and then things start to hurt, and you're like, how did that hurt? What is that? I didn't do anything to that, So he's exercising parts of his body, and it's hurting. We just sit there and go, why is that hurt now? What happened there? I'm just sitting here.
No, it's the morning you wake up and nothing hurts. That you're like, okay, what's going on?
Oh, that's when you're worried about if you're really waking up or if you're dead. Am I dead? Nothing hurts.
Nothing hurts. Something must be wrong. Something must be horribly wrong.
I went to the had my physical about 2 months ago, my flight physical, right? Mm-hmm. And the doc said, any aches or pains, anything? I go, well, my back hurts, from military. And he goes, well, what level of pain? I go, the normal levels. He goes, the normal level should be 0. I'm like, wow, that's not the case.
Well,
and that's never going to happen.
How old is your doctor?
He's our age. He's our age.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Lucky him.
Yeah.
Must have good painkillers.
Yeah, good painkillers. Yeah, and he never had to burden that load before. 100-pound rucksack? Oh no, it's not service related injury. It's okay.
Well, eventually you just get to a point where you're like, okay, it's not even really like it's a pain. It's just like this. Okay, I got that. I know I have that. I know what it is, and is it really worth all that it's going to take to fix it to get rid of it?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, right now it's either a pulled muscle or I got a kidney stone. So we'll see how it works. I'll find out at 3:00 in the morning.
You'll find out. Exactly. That's exactly when you will find out.
Yeah.
I've never had one, but I've heard from people who have them, they are extremely painful.
It's worse than taking a line drive to the cup. I'll tell you that.
Ooh, wow. Okay. Well, all I can say, Mike, is better you than me.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'll give you someone wearing Vegas at SHOT Show.
Like, well, I can't. He's like, I can't redo the whole kidney pain thing, but here's a fast one to the junk.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly right. But you got to do it like
worse than
that. Yeah. Every 5 minutes, we got to keep doing it. Check your packages.
Check your packages. That's why football man back in the day. I don't understand. Kids in football now, they most of them don't wear cups. I don't know how they do it.
My coach used to come through with a cup check. He used to come through with a little pipe, little PVC pipe, and go, cup check. Make sure you had one.
Yeah, I ain't the one. I always had mine.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Just don't put it upside.
Don't put it on the outside. Don't wear it. Hey, what's this?
No. Oh, come on. We had that one kid that we convinced he just started playing that the cup went in the other way, so he wore it upside down. Well, no, he just looked really excited the whole game.
And he was incredibly comfortable running, I'll bet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, he had kind of an awkward gait anyway. So,
Okay. Speaking of gates, let's walk through it, and let's move to the next part of our show where we give a quick shout out to our sponsors.
yeah, Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. If you got yourself an AR in the past 5 years, you probably got one of their barrels and don't even know it. Well, now you can buy from them factory direct AR barrels in any length, any caliber you need. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you could take part in California's future today. You want the best in hog holsters, tactical holsters, concealed holsters. Get on over to HAWGholsters.com. That's hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. It's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get a nice little discount. And if you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, web gear, outdoor gear, paintball gear, whatever you're doing, you can get everything except the gun at uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. These are our sponsors. They bring us to you so that we can bring you to them. So do us a favor. Do them a favor. Do yourselves a favor. Visit their websites. You can go there by following the links in the description to this program. Go there, check out their websites, spend some money with them. And make sure you tell them it was the guys over at the Rundown that sent you.
So how do you like my background? I'm trying to match yours. I didn't want to be too aggressive because our colors didn't match if I have my regular background.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. Now, where is the so you have a background set up behind you so you're not at home? Or are you at a remote location? Oh, see, now I'll be honest with you. I'd much rather look at the whiskey.
Yeah, but it doesn't match. If that makes me too dark, and you're
that's true.
against your light background,
You do seem very bright today. I will say that.
It's like 40 degrees out. I got to dress for it.
Well, that's why you're wearing, instead of the lush green and other bright colors, you're wearing the blue, more icy. Icy tropical.
This is, yeah, tropical. Yep.
Impressive. Well, there you go. You looking good, sir. Looking good. All right.
Hey, before we get into it,
yes.
You guys had an earthquake there, California, today. Everybody okay where you are? Do you guys feel it at all?
Well, I'm in Southern California, so we didn't feel anything down here. It was off the coast of San Francisco. I believe in the city they felt. You said it was like 7.1. Checked in with my wife. Yeah. We're about 90 minutes away. She had not responded before. She had not responded to me yet in terms of whether or not she felt it. But it's it's. I know that there is a tsunami warning. I just don't know exactly if that tsunami is hit
yet. They just saw that they cleared it. No tsunami.
No tsunami. So in other words, San Francisco has not gone into the sea.
You know, and they could have used a good washing away of all the poop. So
they could have. And I just realized my mic was on my lanyard that I just took off. So if it was harder for you to hear me, that was probably why. But I've got my mic on now.
You sounded fine.
There you go. I sound fine.
He's fine as kind.
Fine as kind. All right, let's go ahead and get into our news today. All right, this first story, we talked about it yesterday. The Supreme Court heard the oral arguments on the Tennessee ban on what I call sex trait modification drugs. They called it gender affirming care, but we know that there's no such thing as gender, and affirming that someone is something that they're not. Yeah, that just sounds stupid. Anyway, all that having been said, some interesting things came out of the hearing. It was really kind of weird, and weird is the only way that I can really put it, because you had the conservative justices. If you get a chance to go listen to it, it's very interesting listening. Clearly, it sounded like the conservative justices are like, yeah, no, we're gonna throw this lawsuit. We're gonna uphold the ban. But in essence, what you had here was you had the liberal justices, in particular, two of the liberal justices. Well, they just sounded kind of weird. And I'll take you to the story over here at Fox News, and we'll start with Justice Sotomayor. It says here, Supreme Court Justice sparks social media firestorm for her comments on gender transition for minors. Supreme Court, I'm sorry, we're starting with Ketanji Brown. My bad. It says here, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson used the 1967 Loving v. Virginia case as a comparison. It says here, Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was slammed on Wednesday after she compared a Tennessee law banning gender transition for minors to past laws banning interracial marriage. Jackson and the other justices heard over 2 hours of oral arguments during the U.S. v. Scrimetti case, which involves the constitutionality of state laws banning gender transition medical procedures for minors. Now, by the way, it didn't include procedures or medical the surgeries. It only, this particular case only included the medications. Anyway, it says here, U.S. Solicitor General Elizabeth Prelogar argued that the state's laws have an effect of sex discrimination since minors' gender is key to determining specific medical treatments for those seeking transition. Quote, interesting to me is that you mentioned the precedent because, I'm sorry, let me go back here. After Proner's remarks and exchange with the justices, Jackson said that she saw a parallel between U.S. v. Scrimetti and the landmark Loving v. Virginia case in 1967. Quote, interesting to me that you mentioned the precedent because some of these questions about the sort of who decides the concerns and legislative prerogatives, etc., sound very familiar to me, Jackson said. They sound like the same kinds of arguments that were made back in the day, 50s and 60s, with respect to racial classifications and inconsistencies. Now they're talking about specifically, she's talking about marriage. Now, Mike, what gets me about this is, now if you think about it, the whole point of Loving v. Virginia was there is no substantive difference at all. No physical, no mental, no differences between people of color, black people and white people. So the idea that you would have these things out there doesn't mean that they are random, right? It means that they're random if you have these differences. But in the case of medical procedures, the reason why you have differences is because there's clearly a physiological medical difference between someone who's born a male and someone who's born a female. Am I correct in this?
Well, it's been my personal experience. There is a difference, yes, between males and females. Yes. If that's your question, yes. I mean, you asked. I'm just giving you my answer. Yeah, this is just more liberal nonsense, right? But it's okay, Craig, because she's the best qualified African American woman on the Supreme Court. So, we can always fall back on that.
Well, but keep in mind though, this is the same, and I dare to call her a woman because she can't tell you what a woman is. So of course she is confused by this because she could not define a woman. So how can you identify if there are medical differences? And that's what's so funny about this is the reason why. So the example that she gives is that the Solicitor General says is, well, you can give testosterone to boys if they have low testosterone, but you cannot give testosterone to girls.
Exactly.
Or to those who are born biologically. To those who are born biologically female, and that's because it has a different effect on them, right?
Yeah, I mean, duh. I don't think there's a more precise term other than duh.
Right.
And for this comparison, yeah.
Well, and the same thing when it comes to the hormones in particular that they do for male to quote unquote supposed male to female transition. In other words, when you give for example, when you give them to the things that take it from male to female, one of the issues is that it causes, in some cases, osteoporosis, which is which is basically brittle bones. It causes sterility. It can cause issues to sexual performance. I mean, all of these things, by the way, I just had an argument with someone here at the conference last night. They're like, "Oh, well, it's reversible." I'm like, "You have not bothered." I said, "You're listening to the propaganda. You haven't bothered to do any studying to find out if this stuff is reversible or not, and it's not."
See, from what is it, from 12 to 19 You're in your formative years. Your body is growing. And if you go in there and mess with that and halt it for a little while and then try and pick it up later, guess what? You're not growing anymore. Now you're stuck where you were. It doesn't just automatically pick up again at 19, 20 years old when you stop the drugs.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing that they refuse to accept, or they're just clearly and utterly ignorant about the science behind it. But Joe, Mike, what's even more interesting is then you had Sotomayor, who said she compared it to basically aspirin, right? In the question that she asked, she said, "Well, doesn't every medical treatment have some sort of side effect?" And the response, she said, like for example, aspirin has side effects. Now, last I checked, um, aspirin didn't change your gender. It wasn't an attempt to change your gender. It didn't cause osteoporosis. It didn't cause sterility. It didn't cause, lack of sexual performance. I mean, I I don't know.
So you got these gender drugs, right? And
Right,
they cause horrible things, like you said, brittle bone disease, general dysphoria, infertility, that kind of stuff, right? So
right.
just horrible side effects. Aspirin, on the other hand, it relieves your headaches and it thins the blood and helps you and prevents heart attacks. Good side effects. So, Craig, you got some good side effects and some crappy side effects, but she's correct. They all have side effects.
Right. I am the thing that gets me, and once again, I will continue to go back to this. And I'm like, and the other thing is, and this is the thing that even because you have multiple countries in Europe that were on the forefront of doing this, are all pulling back, and they're only doing it they're only providing these sorts of medications to minors as a study, because what they're realizing is this: number one, the benefits aren't there. None of the studies that they've done demonstrate that there is that the actual benefit, the suicidal ideation, mind you, the only reason why it is considered to be medically necessary is because it may, if they don't get the surgery, the argument was they're going to commit suicide. Well, now we're finding out they're not committing suicide, at least not in any larger numbers than they were if they didn't get the surgery. But now we also know that these medical issues, by the way, one, we know it causes them, but we don't know if it's permanent or not in children. We don't know if it's permanent or not. We do know that in some cases where they've given these drugs to sexual predators and sex offenders, called chemical castration, we do know that some of the effects have been permanent in adults.
Again, the big thing we could surmise is permanent, Craig, is if you give them these blockers when they're let's give you a better example, right? If you give testosterone, if you give estrogen to a boy, it's going to stunt their growth. When they get past 19, if they're still taking the drugs, they're not going to grow. How can I prove that? Easy. If I give testosterone to a young girl, she's going to grow bigger, she's going to grow larger, she's going to have denser muscle mass, she's going to have denser bones. If I stop giving her those drugs, that's not going to go backwards. It's going to stay where it is. All right. You're not going to, now I'm going to shrink back down to normal size. No, not till you hit your 70s.
Right. Well, what we're finding in this stuff is where they, once again, the people who say follow the science, it's junk science. The science does not. Yeah, there you go. It's political science. The science does not support actual science. Biology, chemistry does not support the positions that they're taking. And you know what they're doing is it's an experiment. And you know who they're experimenting on? Our kids.
Yeah. Has anybody asked Dr. Fauci? He might have the science for us.
He might have the science. In fact, he probably funded the science. He probably has an investment on the patent.
Yeah, probably so.
Right. And by the way, that takes us to another story, and I wanted to hit this one. And yes, I did not have time to change this, but I will tell you, it's supposed to be the LPGA, the Ladies Professional Golf Association. I spelled it wrong. Y'all can give me crap in the comments. I don't care. I messed up. Anyway, all that having been said, Mike already kind of got me on that, or he corrected me, shall we say? Anyway,
I thought it was a new term for alternative lifestyles. The LGPA.
The LGPA. There you go. Yeah, no, it's not. It's just my bad. It's my bad spelling or whatever. Anyway, my Russian. There we go. Anyway, in a
No
reversal,
Russian collusion.
no
Russian
Russian,
collusion.
just Russian, no collusion.
No Russian collusion.
The LPGA has actually decided to change course, and they're banning players assigned male. And I love how they're using this assigned male at birth. In other words, no more dudes playing golf in the LPGA. And this is once again as a result of a leadership change. Let's read a little bit about it here. It's the Ladies Pro Golf Association unexpectedly updated its gender eligibility policy on Wednesday and formally barred most transgender players from joining the LGPA tour. The group revealed that in the future it will bar any person born male who went through puberty before transitioning to female. This bars most transgender athletes because very few will have transitioned before they go through puberty. Mike, once again, I will continue to say this. So, in other words, if they transition before, that doesn't necessarily mean that they still won't have a biological advantage. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just like, I think that people are finally waking up to the wokeness, and the LPGA is catching up.
Yeah, listen, I wonder if we put a wig on Tiger, could he go back and win some more Masters? You think that'll work? You just let him, maybe there's a benefit to this. Maybe there's a benefit to this.
I think
we all want to see Tiger win. We all want to see him win again. So
isn't he almost eligible for the senior tour?
He is. So he'll probably start taking some of those. Right.
All right. So, Mike, and by the way, this whole conversation led me to our next topic that I wanted to hit on. And so I'm in a workshop and we're talking about the changes in Title IX. For those of you who not know what Title IX is, it's basically discrimination, but specifically gender discrimination issues. And what happened was in 2024, the Biden administration expanded those protections to include those who are transgender, which the whole point of it was to allow biological males in girls' locker rooms and to participate in girls' sports, which you know how we feel about that. Anyway, all that having been said, so they're doing a workshop and they're talking about it, and they recognize that because there was a lawsuit, there's currently an injunction. There are certain states, there's 26 states have injunctions in place where you're not allowed to implement these Title IX changes. So in the rest of the country, the other 24 states, there's nothing. But one of the lawsuits has specifically been filed by a group known as Moms for Liberty. You guys know them. We've talked about them. They exist. Anyway, included in the lawsuit, it's actually school specific and organization specific. So if you are a member of Moms for Liberty and your child attends a public school, they are covered by this lawsuit. That is the reason why I wanted to make it a point. If you are not a member of Moms for Liberty, you need to become a member of Moms for Liberty. You can do so by going to their website. And I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to check that out. I want you to go to their website. Here it is. If you go to their website, give you some information on the group. But when you go down here, there's a little map here, and it'll let me see if I can make this a little bit more expansive. There you go. So there you can see links to all the various different states, where there are chapters, where you can go to work to become a member of Moms for Liberty. You need to go there and check that out. And then, one, notify Moms for Liberty and have them update their list of schools. But then, number two, notify your school if it's being implemented and let them know. I'm so and so's parent. I'm a member of Moms for Liberty. We're part of a lawsuit, and you are enjoined from instituting those new changes under that lawsuit. So, just wanted to throw that out there so the folks know who might be watching the program.
What's up with Utah and Vermont? How come they're not playing? You're in Utah or Vermont. You want to start one of these groups? Look them up.
There you go. Well, I'm guessing Utah. I'm guessing there's not one in Utah. There's not one in Boise because they don't play that mess. It's like they're probably all encompassing. They probably don't. There's probably not a school district or a school in those states that are trying to institute those changes. Having said that, don't wait until there is one. Go ahead and start a group. I agree with Mike.
Yeah, in Vermont, that's the Bernie Sanders land. So
yeah, well, they probably. Yeah, they probably got them going on up there. But yeah, so that was an interesting little tidbit. And people ask me, they'll say, Craig, why do you read liberal media? Why do you go to conferences like this? I said, because I learned their game plan. I learned where they're at. I learned their challenges. I have to learn and understand their perspectives so I know as a conservative how to game plan to fight them.
Know thy enemy.
Know thy enemy. And it's funny because most of these folks have absolutely no idea about any of this stuff. Most of these people who support it have absolutely no idea. It's kind of sad, but it's the truth. They have literally no idea. When I share with them the information and share with them the links, they're like, oh. I'm like, yeah, you need to take the time. Even if you disagree with me, you need to get the information that I have. So at least then you know what I'm basing my arguments on, and if you're going to debunk it, then you know what you got to debunk. But so far, they generally they're not very successful at it.
You have to debunk the bunk.
Debunk that bunk. Debunk that bunk. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Going on to our next topic. And this was one that, by the way, at the very beginning, we knew about this. And I talked about this when they were during COVID. I've talked about it ever since. And now it is, in fact, official. Science never justified prolonged school closures. I'll go back to, and I'll tell you the story again. And for those of you who are new to the program, I sit on a school board. That's why I'm at the School Boards Association conference. When we first shut down, it was like, okay, well, we don't know what we don't know. So, okay, it's going to be X number of weeks. And then by then we should have some information. Then it was really close to the end of the school year. So we're like, okay, well, maybe we'll keep it, because if we come back, I'm okay with, or at least I was in the minority, but I'm not going to argue too much over staying close till the end of the year because there was only a few weeks left. But at that time, we were asking, because then the state started recommending that we need to stay shut down into the next school year. And I'm like, well, okay, well, where's the science? Where's the data? No one gave us anything. The feds didn't give us anything. The state didn't give us anything. The county didn't give us anything. All they said was it's based on the science. It's based on the science. What's that? Follow the science was what they kept saying. Well, now the COVID Select Committee has basically said science never justified prolonged school closures. It says here, science never justified prolonged school closure of schools during the coronavirus pandemic. The Select Committee on Coronavirus Pandemic, which has conducted its 2-year-long investigation into the coronavirus pandemic, said, offering its findings this week. The subcommittee concluded its investigation and provided a 520-page report detailing the massive failures committed throughout the pandemic, from mask and vaccine mandates to public health officials suppressing and dismissing narratives such as the reality of natural immunity and or that they did not like and that would not support their draconian policies. One major point of controversy throughout the pandemic was the so-called science behind prolonged school closures. As it turns out, and as many already have known, there was none. Quote, the science never justified prolonged closures. A summary of the report reads, explaining that children were not likely to contribute to the spread of the virus, and they were not likely to suffer from severe illness or mortality. Instead, as a result of school closures, children experience historic learning loss, higher rates of psychological distress, and decreased physical well-being. The summary continues. Now, Mike, once again, this is stuff that you and I already knew. It's stuff that you and I have already talked about multiple times, but now it's official. Now I'm going because I have at least one fellow school board member who even today says, well, if it saved just one life, well, now we know it didn't. We know it didn't. And we know, and I'll tell you right now, there's everybody here at this conference is talking about how the pandemic, how they talk about how the pandemic has really hurt our kids academically. And I keep correcting them. No, it was the government's response to the pandemic, shutting down schools, that has harmed our students.
Next time he says, if it saves just one life, Craig, tell him you want his car. Take away his car. Car accidents kill 50,000 people a year in this nation. Next time he says it saves one life, tell him we need to close all fast food restaurants because heart disease is the number one killer, and bad health is the number from eating crap is the number one killer of everybody in this country. So let's get rid of it because we know it'll save lives.
Well, exactly. See, you hit the nail right on the head. It's like you cannot base policy based on a small number of things. You have to base policy based on the greatest good for the greatest number of people, right? And when you knew, and here was the other thing that it did, was kids, once again, we already know that they would have developed a natural immunity a lot younger, a lot sooner, right? If they had just done what the hopefully new director of the NIH recommended, if they would have just, found out who was highly at risk, find out who was getting sick, who was more likely to get sick, find out the behaviors and the places where they were catching it, and take those risky people and keep them away from those risky things and places, and let everybody else live their lives.
2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever it was originally supposed to be. Okay, like you said, we don't know what we don't know. Let's get a handle on this and figure this out. But it immediately became control. Look at the control. Look what the unions did, Craig. Oh, I'm a teacher. I can't go back. I need you to pay me more. It's risky. I need more money, more benefits. It all became about them. It had nothing to do with the kids. It had everything to do with money and control.
Well, exactly. It became about money and control, and in particular, control that they wanted. And in the end, it wound up directly harming our children. And that's the sad part about the whole thing, man, is that in the end, it was our kids who paid the price.
Yep.
All right, folks. So that's going to bring us along to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster today. Now, all of our parting shots today are brought to you by the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can count on. I love using them because they're always funny and they're really easy to find. So I'm going to go ahead and that's what I'm going to use. This first one here, that Doge is they're starting to roll out their thing, right? They're starting to get going. And the first thing they're looking at, it says cruel Doge to force government offices to use single-ply toilet paper. Now, I got to be honest, that is cruel and unusual punishment.
John Wayne toilet paper. Well, I guess now it's called John Wick toilet paper, right?
John Wick toilet paper. That's just bad. And I got to tell you, every time my wife decides that she wants to save money and get single ply, I'm like, look, we're not destitute. I can handle a couple of plies. I was like, you let me have the good stuff. I got to have the good stuff to wipe my hiney now. Sorry.
Listen, I don't care if I'm homeless and living in the woods. My sign standing on the corner, it says, need money for soft toilet paper.
Exactly. There you go. That's exactly what you need. That's exactly what we need. Now, by the way, ahead of actually taking his official position with Doge in Washington, D.C., he decided to make a little bit of a trip to the North Pole, Mr. Elon Musk did. And according to the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can count on, 75% of elves laid off after Elon Musk visits the North Pole.
Hey, listen, if you don't need them, you don't need them. It's not like there's a lot of good people left.
Exactly. There you go. And then finally, you might know that they're in the middle of jury deliberations right now for Mr. Daniel Penny, the hero that helped keep people from being attacked by an individual there on the subway. But according to the Babylon Bee, Daniel Penny jury deliberations delay due to 3 jurors being severely beaten on subway ride to courthouse.
Listen, obviously we support this guy and we're all for this guy, but you get a haircut, bro.
Yes. Get a haircut, hippie boy.
Yeah, hippie. What is
Hey.
that? What's with the curls on his forehead? What is that? Come on, if you're going bald, just deal with it.
There you go. There you go. I'm with you. Okay. Moving right along, folks. That brings us to the end of our program, and I'm looking here in my laptop battery's about to run low, so we're going to rush through these shout out to our sponsors. Mike, hit it.
Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Get over there, get yourself some AR barrels. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Public Assembly, fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. And if you want the best in tactical gear, field gear, outdoor gear, you can get everything except the gun at uscombatgear.com.
All right, folks, that's going to be it for today's program. We're not going to have a program tomorrow because tomorrow morning I'm going to be doing the conference, and in the afternoon I'm going to be at the happiest place on earth. Well, happiest place in California, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to be over at Disneyland tomorrow, tomorrow afternoon. So not going to be doing the program tomorrow. So we will be back on Monday, Fun Day, Gun Day. Till then, y'all have fun, stay safe, and if you get a chance, remember to send a few downrange. We will holler at you on Monday.